how you like it, yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the We Don't Know TV podcast. My name is Leaf. I am your host. This is a podcast where we watch the first episode of a show and then we talk about it. So if you haven't seen my tweet, this episode will be going up today on Thursday. My work schedule has been really busy. I've been working like 2 times as hard as I usually do, and I have 2 jobs, which is why, I need to get into pre-recording these episodes. But yeah, that's why this episode is going up late. So I apologize. Usually I don't cover anime, or I didn't plan on covering anime, but Akira Toriyama, the creator best known for Dragon Ball Z, has passed away recently. So I felt it was right to watch the first episode of Dragon Ball Z on this show, simply because Dragon Ball Z ended up kind of forging a part of like my interests and just kind of who I am. I want to save that part for the end though. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do Dragon Ball Z. I feel like it's right just because, his passing was so sudden to all of the fans, and it just I felt some type of way. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this first episode. That being said, before we hop in, I'm going to talk about this episode both as someone who has seen all of Dragon Ball Z and then also kind of pretending like I haven't seen it. You'll kind of see what I mean when I get into the episode. But for now, let's start the way we always do, which is we will start with the IMDb synopsis that states, with the help of the powerful Dragon Balls, a team of fighters led by the Saiyan warrior Goku defend the planet Earth from extraterrestrial enemies. That's pretty solid. I mean, I would probably reword it a different way, but I mean, it would end up saying the same exact thing, so that's pretty good. We start off, if it's your first time here, we go through the plot beat by beat. That way you don't have to, and that way I don't forget anything. We start off with the intro, and it's crazy how, I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z in I don't know how long, but as soon as the intro played, I remember the entire beat. I remember some of the visuals, it all came flooding back, which is just so crazy and just, kind of funny to be like, oh, this is, it's one of those memories that I remember I had. But we start off with a bunch of scenery of just kind of cliff sides and the countryside, and everything's pretty chill. We get a voiceover that turns out 5 years has passed since King Piccolo was defeated by Goku and his friends. We are been in a time of peace, but that peace is going to end because a new threat is coming to Earth. And it's like, all right. Then we get the splash title of the episode, The New Threat, and we are off into the episode. So we get more scenery, we get peaceful music. Again, it is a time of peace. You can feel that, everything's just kind of chill, feels like that summertime vibe. We hear someone yelling Gohan. They keep saying Gohan. This is where we see Goku for the first time. He is jumping through the trees. He jumps down, sees a tree, just punches it down. And this is a massive, oak tree. He just punches it down, carries the whole thing home, like he's just carrying, 20-pound dumbbell. And his wife is just like, yo, you're gonna hurt your back one of these days. And he's like, nah, I'm fine. She's like, our son Gohan is missing. You need to go find him. You're supposed to go meet your friends at Master Roshi's house. You need to take the flying Nimbus. And again, this first episode right off the bat is already saying things like Master Roshi and the Flying Nimbus. And if you haven't seen Dragon Ball when he was little, this show isn't really gonna explain anything. They're just gonna say terms and then hope that you eventually figure it out. So we move on. A comet crashes down near a farmer. The farmer's like, oh, my luck. Why do I have to go check it out? Relatable, dude. He drives up to where the crater is. He takes out his gun for whatever reason, but I mean, good on him, better safe than sorry. An alien comes out of this little pod. Turns out he can fly. He kind of looks just like a regular human with super long hair, and he has armor on. He flies over to the farmer, and he's talking to himself. He's like, oh, there's still creatures on this planet. Kakarot, whoever that is, has failed us. He has this little thing over his eye, almost like a monocle. He scans the farmer, and he's like, oh, the farmer has a weak power level. So clearly, people have power levels in this world. The farmer, scared, shoots his gun. The alien catches it and then flicks a bullet back at the guy, and he is dead. The alien senses another power level, and he's like, oh, it must be Kakarot. I'm gonna go find you. And then he flies off to go find Kakarot, whoever that is. We move on to Gohan. He is lost and crying. How he ended up in the middle of the woods, big old mystery. He has a monkey tail. Why? Who knows? He is chasing a butterfly. He ends up running into a saber-toothed tiger. I guess dinosaurs and stuff kind of exist in this world. Again, not really explained. You're just kind of thrown in. So he's like, oh, I remember. You're supposed to play dead. So he plays dead. The saber-tooth looks like, oh, like a free meal. I'm going to eat this. But ends up stealing his hat and kind of runs away. This is where this starts to like kind of get into the anime and like little cartoon of it all, where Gohan starts crying. He's bawling his eyes out. He's like, "Dad, my dad gave me that hat," but he's chasing down the Sabretooth, bawling his eyes out, and the Sabretooth is running away. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? And it's kind of funny, and it's also like, what did Gohan plan on doing? It's not really clear. He ends up falling off a mountaintop. And as he's falling down, he passes out. And then this is where we kind of go into like back when there used to be commercials, a little commercial splash. And then we come back. Turns out he survived. He wakes up in a tree really close to the ground. He hops down and continues to walk on. He finds a bird on a log and he's like, oh, look, a little bird. And he walks over. And of course, the log is like on a rock, but like kind of like seesawing, and then as soon as the bird leaves, it falls into the river and he's being pulled into the river. And again, it's like, where are your parents? Well, how did you get this far? We cut back to Goku. Goku finds the hat wearing Sabretooth and he's like, hey, that's my son's hat. How did you get my son's hat? And he's talking to the Sabretooth like a casual conversation. And it's like, my guy, what's wrong with you? And the Sabretooth, like, you know, is of course being an animal, so it's like about to attack him. And he's like, no, seriously, where'd you get my son's hat? And then the Sabretooth looks really scared. We cut back to Goku flying on a cloud. Again, not explaining how this world works or why he's doing that. He's just flying on a cloud. It's a yellow cloud. Gohan is, at the same time, they're intercutting between Gohan being pulled down the river. Goku eventually sees him. He's trying to reach for his son, but he like can't get close enough. Gohan gets sucked into a cave. So he's like flying down the river in between his cave, and then Goku has to fly around the cave. Gohan ends up falling down a waterfall. Goku isn't able to make it in time. And he hears the son crying, and he's like prepared to like jump down to the water to go get him. And then he notices that the sound is coming above him. So he like looks up, and like way above the waterfall, Gohan is like hanging in a tree. And so it's like something's going on with this kid, all right? And he's like, Dad, I'm sorry I lost my hat. And he's like, no, you didn't. And he puts his hat back on him. So he must have got it from the Sabretooth already. And then, again, we're just moving along. This show doesn't explain anything. We quickly cut back to the alien who's flying over a city. And he's like, Kakarot's not here. I guess I gotta keep looking. We cut to a green guy who looks like an alien as well. He's like, oh, there's a big power level coming. But I know it's not Goku. So he's like, okay, clearly that guy knows Goku. The alien drops down in front of the green guy. We get this little interesting line where he's like, oh, I can tell green guy that you're also not from Earth. Like, you must also be an alien. Green guy's like, listen, man, I don't want no beef. I don't even know why you're here. And the alien's like, well, I got some beef, so let's throw down. The green guy shoots an energy blast at the alien. And it does absolutely nothing. He's like, oh, I think you singed like my leg hairs a little bit. And he's like, you know what? Let me show you my move. I call it the old double Sunday. And before he can do that, the alien's little eye patch scouter thing senses another power level. And he's like, you know, you lucked out this time. And then he like flies away to go find Kakarot. And the green guy falls to his knees. And this is where you kind of get one of the staples in anime, which is hearing people's inner thoughts. And he's like, I threw all of my energy at that guy and he acted like it was nothing. This is going to be a problem. We see the alien flying, and this is where the episode ends. And he's like, he's talking to himself again in his head. He's like, Kakarot, have you lost your pride? We are Saiyans, the mightiest warriors in the universe. I remember when we first sent you away. And then we cut to like a shadow of baby Goku. So clearly Goku is Kakarot. And he's like, why haven't you done your mission? And the episode ends with an outro, the classic outro of a man talking and being like, oh no, this alien has come to Earth. He's looking for Kakarot, whoever that is. You know, Goku is eventually going to run to the sky. What happens when the two of them meet? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And then that's it. So As someone who has watched Dragon Ball Z for a long time, going back to this first episode, it was crazy to be like, all right, Goku trying to get Gohan out of the river was like pretty much the crux of like action in this episode, because the alien just flicked the bullet back at the farmer, so nothing really popped off. The green guy just shot a blast at the alien and it didn't really do anything. So really in terms of like action is like Gohan chasing the Sabretooth when he's crying, and then Goku trying to save his son. But other than that, it's not like, if you've never seen Dragon Ball Z, or if you've ever like seen it in passing or whatever, it's always big energy blasts, big hair, people going Super Saiyan, so like blonde hair and all the other stuff. And then this is just so calm that it kind of feels nice, because like I feel like it really does emphasize the whole allure of like, this is a time of peace. Like really not much is going on, but it does really show that like this ended up transforming into something else, because it's not big bombastic, like in your face, like power levels and like energy beams. It's really chill. Like this first episode, like nothing really happens for real. There's way more mystery than there is action, and that kind of caught me off guard. I also remember the first episode, I guess, being a mix of like the first episode and what happens in the second episode. So when this one ended and it didn't end the way I remember it, I was like, oh, okay, this is even less than I thought we were going to get this first time around. And again, so there's Dragon Ball Z, and then there's Dragon Ball Z Kai. Again, I'm talking to people that know their stuff, and then people that don't know their stuff, right? So Dragon Ball Z Kai. Dragon Ball Z Kai was them going back to Dragon Ball Z and being like, hey, we're gonna make it look a little better, and we're gonna kind of cut out some of the fluff and like just make things a little different. And one of the things they do in the first episode is they go, hey everyone, if you haven't seen Dragon Ball when everyone was little and then you got to meet everyone for the first time, here's like a quick synopsis of what happened then, and then they throw you into this first episode. Whereas with this one, again, they just throw you in. So like when I say green guy, everyone that has seen Dragon Ball Z knows, oh, I'm talking about Piccolo. But the reason I said green guy and not Piccolo is because they don't introduce who Piccolo is. You get Raditz, the guy I said alien with the long hair. But again, first episode, they don't say his name. So, you don't even know Goku's wife's name. Like, they just throw you in. The only people you actually meet are Goku and Gohan in terms of, like, introductions of characters, right? Even, it's probably a throwaway line. If you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z, you probably didn't even notice it, of Roshi, which is the house that they're supposed to go to. So, this first episode is just kind of like, yeah, I guess they'll just figure things out along the way. But it's so interesting that it didn't really set anything up. I guess, this was a different time. And also, like, this is, one of the first big anime to be dubbed. And again, I'm talking to the people that don't know anime. There's dubbed and then there's subbed. Dubbed means it's in English. Subbed just means subtitles. So in Japanese, you have to read it. So I don't think they really thought about back then, because anime isn't as big as it was now, to be like, okay, we need to fully explain what's going on to this American audience. They're just kind of like, this is the thing. Like, you either like it or you don't. And I kind of like that. It's kind of, you're along for the ride. We're not going to hold your hand. So all of that being said, I have a 3-point rating system. It is 1 and done, give it a chance, and I'm in. Going strictly off this episode, pretending like I've never seen Dragon Ball Z ever, or Dragon Ball for that point, I would actually give this one a give it a chance, which is surprising because Dragon Ball Z is in my top 5 in terms of anime. But again, there wasn't a lot of action in this first episode. A lot of things aren't explained, but I am interested enough to see, like, okay, what happens when the alien meets Goku? And honestly, Goku is Kakarot based on what they've showed us. So what was his original mission? Like, who is he supposed to be in this alien's eyes? And we've seen the green guy, Piccolo, hit him full on, as he was saying, and it did nothing. So it's like, okay, what is Earth's plan to like deal with this guy if, one of the first people we meet is like, hey, I went all out and I barely scratched that guy. Again, there was enough mystery in this first episode for me to be like, all right, I'll watch another one. But I wasn't full on like, yo, I gotta watch the next episode, which is, again, so crazy when I'm thinking about now, knowing that it is, one of my favorite animes of all time. So I actually had a really fun time just watching this quick, introductory, like either you're in or you're out first episode, and just deciding like, is this something I would honestly watch now? And again, I would have to say, give it a chance for this first episode, which is so crazy. But, hindsight is 2020 or whatever. But that being said, with Akira Toriyama passing, the creator of Dragon Ball Z, it's one of those things where, just like Kevin Conroy, who, if you don't know, has been the voice of Batman for years now, who also passed away, I think, last year. It's just one of those things of like, not childhood heroes, but like childhood staples passing away. That's like, oh, I didn't realize like how much you affected my life until like you can't do it anymore. So when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z for a lot of my generation, because I'm a millennial, it was like the first big dubbed anime. So again, anime turned into English to like really get us into anime. And I remember I had watched other stuff. My cousins would watch Sailor Moon and it just didn't hit me. But like Dragon Ball Z was like my shit as a kid. Like that one was the one that was like, I have to watch this all the time and like go to school and talk about it with my friends. And I remember, because again, anime wasn't anime. It was just kind of like, oh, this is a Japanese cartoon when I was little. So, spoilers, in the 5th episode of Dragon Ball Z, Goku dies, who's the main character. So, having the main character die in the 5th episode was like, and he dies, like, crater through the chest if you haven't seen it. Like, he passes away, goes to heaven, or their version of heaven. So having me watch that as a little kid, 5-6 years old, I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I'm watching like Dexter's Lab and, you get Powerpuff Girls and they fight and stuff. But like, I didn't know you could kill your main character and get away with it and be like, oh, the story's going to keep going. And I just remember that blowing my mind and being like, how are you allowed to do that? And like, where is the story going to go if you killed the main character? Like, huh? Like how are you going to kill the main character and then keep telling me a story? And, that might be something that's already happened later on. But, like, again, I'm a little kid thinking I'm watching just, oh, this is a Japanese cartoon. And, you're changing the fundamentals of, like, storytelling for me. Which really, like, threw me for a loop and kind of changed my whole perception of, like, oh, sometimes stories can be, like, this crazy thing. And again, Dragon Ball Z, just with, the buildup of all the enemies and like going Super Saiyan for the first time and all the other good stuff of Dragon Ball Z, was just really got me into anime. And without, Akira Toriyama's work, I don't know, well, what a lot of American things look like, just because like Dragon Ball Z is so influential in so many ways. But like, just personally, I don't know what anime would have really gotten me into anime if it wasn't Dragon Ball Z. I wonder, what else would have been like the thing for me, or if I would even be remotely the same person. But I mean, that's super existential. I'm just saying Dragon Ball Z ended up, changing my life in a way I didn't really think about until, his passing. So I have to give much respect to him. Rest in power, of course. Life-changing work. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave this episode. But I am going to pre-record the next one just because my schedule has been crazy. So next week, we'll be talking about X-Men 97. So if you're an X-Men fan or you just want to hear me talk again, you know where to find me. If you want to keep up with me, you can obviously listen to the podcast or follow me on Twitter at Little Leafers. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.